Good morning, welcome back.
Welcome back. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I can see them in
Yep.
real time.
You have to get a chance to ask questions about the furlough days coming up for the Reedsport District.
I'm live in the studio with Superintendent of Reedsport Schools, John Zwemke. Hey, John.
Good morning, CC. We mentioned it during the last segment, but today's topic, we'll just have one, but we're going to talk about some upcoming furlough days that we're going to have here at the school district.
Okay. And just, I want to tell people right now that we are live on Facebook as well. So if you have questions, just go there and leave a comment and we'll answer it.
Yeah, I'd really like to address any questions that the community has about the furlough. And if anybody's not sure what a furlough is, furloughs for school districts mean that the entire staff will not be working, will not be paid, and there will not be school happening. The district effectively shuts down and closes its doors for that day. We need to do that 8 times. Lots of things kind of leading up to that. The biggest one was on March 28th, we had one of our school payments, the payments that the school district gets to run its daily operations, contained an adjustment, which is the Department of Education making sure that they're not overpaying us by basically paying us less. The adjustment that Reedsport School District got was $400,000. And the reasoning that came about is we're still kind of dealing with things out of COVID. We're not talking about the COVID money that the federal government gave us. We're talking about the regular money that the schools get from the state to run schools. In Oregon, the schools get paid per student. If you have 500 students in your district, you get paid for 500 students. If you have 1,000 students, you get double because you have 1,000 kids. You're paid per child, essentially, to have your school operate. When COVID happened, everybody went home. They were learning online. There was remote everything, and the state was used to being able to monitor. Oh, Reedsport, you have 625 students. And next month's report, oh, Reedsport, you have 620 students. When people went into COVID, the state had no way to track how many kids there were.
Really?
So
wow.
It's just all of a
so
sudden.
So they had to guess?
Well, they didn't guess. They said, we don't know how many kids we have, so we're going to take your last number, Reedsport, and we're going to hold you there. So the last number that we turned in became the basis for all of our school payments during COVID. When we talk about school funding, you are paid for the school year you're operating, and the following year is cleanup. If the state pays you based on your attendance, they're usually about 6 months behind. So if your attendance is going up, the adjustments you'll see the following year is you will get an increased amount of money as an adjustment. If during the school year your numbers go down, then the following year your adjustments, they'll hold money back. They won't pay you as much. And that's their way of balancing to be sure that they're only paying you what you actually have in student population. So go back to COVID, they held us at a certain number of attendance, and they said, we're just going to keep you here. We don't know how many kids you have, and that was everybody in the state. They couldn't monitor the system. Now that kids are back, they're being accurate, and this is the first year we're seeing those adjustments take place. The issue that is the entire state has dealt with is when we came back from COVID, 10,000 fewer kids returned. We know that because there was 10,000 more when COVID started. We take attendance now, there's 10,000 fewer kids. That's not just Reedsport, that's the entire state of Oregon. So most districts are seeing a decline in their enrollment. And this recent March 28th payment, most districts saw a reduction in adjustment because their enrollment has declined. Reedsport was one of them. Our adjustment was $400,000. I think when you look at the Statesman Journal newspaper the other day, Silver Falls had to report $1.5 million. I know that at the Bend Lapine School District, they're adjusting for, I don't remember their number, but I know it was 80 teaching positions, 60 teaching positions this year, 80 next year. So throughout the state, large districts and small districts were dealing with this adjustment because now we're being paid for the actual students, not the number we were held at.
So this is happening a lot of other places for the first time.
Right.
I mean, because of the change that we had with COVID, and now, yeah, what a mess.
I'd say a majority of school districts are doing this,
Okay.
and different mechanisms people are trying to use to adjust this. Now, some school districts are reporting an increase in enrollment, so some people actually got an adjustment to the positive and got more money.
Okay.
That's not the majority of people though. Most of the districts are seeing a decline. So Reedsport has a $400,000 adjustment, and that pretty much wiped out our contingency. The reason we have to have a contingency is we have to have enough money to open the doors in the fall. We have to have the payroll and the supplies and materials and the programs in place. So we need at least $300,000 to open the doors in the fall. Probably closer to $400,000. It kind of depends on some of the things we need to do over the summer. So the 8 school days, closing the doors for 8 days, is going to account for about half of what we need to make up that $400,000. I'm sorry, it's going to account for $250,000 of the $400,000 that we need to make up. We're going to pull some money from the contingency. It's going to wipe us out, but by taking the furlough days, we're going to have just enough to kind of squeak through the summer, open the doors in the fall, have our payroll costs met. This decline in enrollment is going to be an ongoing problem because the state pays us based on enrollment. We're going to continue to have less money coming from the state for running our schools. And that means that next year we're going to have to make some big budget cuts. We're going to need to scale back staff, programs, systems in order to live within the money that the state is giving us. And that's approximately $1.5 million.
Okay.
Our general fund money this year is about $10 million, so roughly 15% reductions in order to keep in line with the reduction we have in enrollment. Statewide, a big problem is the decline in enrollment, but another part of that is the birth rate. We're just seeing a lot fewer kids being born, and people coming into kindergarten, those class sizes are smaller statewide. So with fewer kids coming in, they start in kinder, but they go all the way through 12th grade, 13 years of school in districts. Right now, we are seeing the numbers decline overall just because of the birth rate. That's just where Oregonians are at. So several kind of compounding problems. At the end of the day, if I can make any pleas, we really need the state of Oregon and the legislature in the state of Oregon to look at the revenue formula that they use to fund schools.
Yeah, this sounds like it's me. Yeah.
Some of the things we have to cut this summer in order to make payroll in the fall are some of the necessary repairs and just maintenance of our buildings. Schools in Oregon are not paid to take care of their buildings. Facilities is a huge problem. The schools in Reedsport are about 75 years old, and we don't get money specifically for the purpose of schools. They require you to bond. And the southern part of the state, the eastern part of the state, bonds don't go very well. So the repair of the facilities, you take that out of the money you're supposed to use to educate students, and you take it, you cut a teaching position so that you can have $100,000 to fix an air handler. Those sorts of heavy decisions go on. And then when you cut a teacher, class sizes go up, you have less programs, and you're trying to do that to keep the heat on. So facilities are not part of what the state of Oregon directly funds for their schools. And that's one aspect of the funding. Another aspect is if we're basing it on students and we're basing it on attendance, and we know that that's all in decline right now, then the facilities are not being taken care of, you're forcing schools to shut down. I think the most extreme example of this in the state of Oregon right now is the Jervis School District. They are in a do or die moment. I think they have a May election coming up to try to pass a bond. If they don't, they're probably going to have to close their entire school district and become a part of the Woodburn School District. I don't know all the ins and outs. I reserve the right to make a mistake in that comment, but that's the general sense I understand from the news I've been reading, that their facilities are so old, if they can't get some money out of the community to support them directly through that bond, that they won't be able to maintain schools.
This will be, wow.
So that's an extreme example. Most schools in Oregon, unless you know they're brand new built, you know,
They all need work.
yeah, everybody needs it.
And
So
I had no idea, John, that it wasn't covered. I'm sure a lot of other people don't either. I'm sure a lot of people do, but
yeah, it's money that the state of Oregon, they're paying you for your students, and they're factoring just enough money for you to meet your payroll and buy the books and supplies you need, but the buildings are.
but the heat goes out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and we know we suffer with heating and cooling. Our boilers are old, and we can find enough money to repair. And so when you repair on top of repair, on top of repair, on top of repair, at some point, the boiler as an overall unit just continues to fail. And again, that's just one specific thing, because we have asbestos in our schools. We have heating and cooling needs. We have roofs. Roofs go out. The composition of the buildings themselves, the walls, the integrity of the floors, just the maintenance is a big part of our costs. No blame on this. We have about 10% of our budget goes to transportation, and really fuel costs are a big part of what transportation has to deal with, just to get our kids to and from the schools. But we have to pay for fuel costs, and those are up. So if there's anything that I'm advocating for here, appreciation for all the hard work that our staff are doing. This is a really tough time for them. We're having to make some very important decisions that are going to impact staffing and programs and systems, and none of that is fun. On top of that, we're going to be doing furloughs, which means when the schools shut down and teachers don't work, it means they don't get paid. And administrators don't get paid, and classified staff don't get paid. And 8 days is half a month. We go to school approximately 16 days, and 8 of those, it's a half a month of pay. And if we don't do that, we won't be able to open in the fall. It's that dire. And this funding formula, this model of adjusting 6 months later, and the paying on the student rather than paying what the school needs to run its operations, the funding formula is a mess. I've heard little snippets that the governor wants to examine the problem. I hope she looks pretty hard at it.
Yeah,
And
me too.
and I hope she makes some honest work into redoing this and basing these funding that the schools get on the size of the community. What does that community need? Because Reedsport's a pretty big community, and the funding we get for our students is not sufficient.
Yeah. Wow.
there's lots of other factors in
Yeah.
here. I'm going to have a few community sessions in the next week or so for more opportunity for people to ask questions and to learn more regarding the furloughs. Today, we're going to be putting together our information to staff and families with more specifics. I've been a little vague, pretty positive it's an 8-day furlough. So when are the furloughs is an important thing we'll address. What can people do during the time? We'll be putting those letters out in the next 24 to 48 hours because staff need to know, families need to know, and community obviously will post those on the website. But I'll be out with lots of opportunities to address questions and talk to people about this because this is very heavy news. It's very, very
it's a big
sad.
deal. And thank you for coming on the show here and being so open and transparent about everything. So that's one thing I've always liked about you, John. If you got a question, you ask John anything you want, he will answer it. Just like the Facebook Live that we have up right now. If you do think of questions, go ahead and leave your question and we'll try to get you an answer.
Yeah.
All right, John, anything else?
I will be out and about and I will be available. I know people have stuff on their minds that we need to have addressed here. So
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
That's good. We didn't have any questions. We had like 5 or 6 people watching at once. Let's see. Put that on there. I don't think did I miss any questions? Hi, Kevin. Kevin, do you have any questions? He's like, don't put me on the spot. All right, well, like John was saying, if you have questions, just leave them there.
I'll be around. Thank you.